Hello and welcome to my latest Star Wars video. So this time we're going to be taking a look at the vintage Star Wars Slave 1 playset. Now I've always loved this one, but for some reason, although I had lots through my hands, I never ended up keeping one in my main sort of Star Wars collection. So a couple of weeks back I was able to get one from fellow YouTuber Yubnub Tom, and he sort of sells Star Wars stuff on his YouTube channel. He sort of auctions them online. So I was delighted to get one from there. Now it's from an original owner, and it does come with a bit of wear and tear and dust and dirt. So I thought what I'd do, we'd have a really close look at it. I'll clean it as we go, and we'll have a really close look at this, what is, after all, an absolutely classic playset. So that's what we're going to do today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, so I think first of all we need to just assess quite how dusty and dirty this one actually is. I mean, for starters, it is the Empire Strikes Back Palatoy one, which is the one I particularly wanted to get. But as you can see, the dust and dirt on this is quite something. So if I go right up close like that, you can see, just rubbing my hand off, the dirt is coming off. There's a big splosh of something there. You see that sort of, it's been like dropped in the mud or something like that. Now the end piece here, it is actually missing a bit of the cardboard, so I don't think there's a great deal we can do about that. But the actual edges themselves, the sides of the boxes and that, we can clean up as good as we possibly can. I'm going to leave, it's got a little sticker down there, $12.99, and I believe that's an original toy shop one. I'm going to leave that one on there because I actually quite like that. This side isn't as dirty as the other side. There's the bottom there. Yeah, it's mainly this side, and it's probably where it's been stored all those years. I mean, we have to remember now we are looking at a 40-year-old toy, so in that time it's bound to have seen a bit of action. So that's the box. Now the good news is, as far as I know, everything here is complete. So we'll get the actual great ship itself out. Got the instruction booklet, which is quite scarce in itself, and we've got the flaps here for the side. But if we look into the bottom of the box here, you see that in itself is a bit of a mess, and there looks to be the end of a packet of crisps or something down the bottom there. So that also needs to come out so that the Slave one itself sits nice and neat. As I said, we've got the instruction booklet, which is pretty nice. Now this is quite scarce, and I'm very, very pleased to see that, because it is the British Palatoy 1. And it's in nice condition, yeah, Palatoy down the bottom. So very, very pleased to see that. The actual ship itself, as I said, all the pieces are there. Got the Carbonite Chamber there. I'll have a look at all of this in a bit more detail in a minute. Also the ramp is there as well, which is often missing. There's a little bit of wear to the stickers, which I expect, but the actual toy itself is very, very dusty and dirty. Now, I was almost tempted to strip the whole thing back, because it's not that difficult to unscrew it and literally soak all the pieces. But what I think I'll do, because it's not a complete dog, shall we say, it just really needs a bit of a gentle clean and polish. I am just literally going to do that. I'm not going to soak all the pieces. I'll probably take this off and give the dome here a bit of a clean, and these other bits that are individual, so I'll give all of those a good little clean to tidy it up a bit. But apart from that, I don't think I'm going to go much further than that. But I think all told, for the price I paid, I think that was actually a really good little buy. Although I have to say, back in the day, I focused mainly on the figures, because I was only in a bed set at the time, sort of in the late 80s, and I didn't have loads of room for boxed ships. But that time when I found those figures for 29p, that nice little haul of Tri logos. At the same time, they had a whole stack of these as big as, you know, as tall as a man, £7.50 each in the same shop. They were brand new, straight off the shelf, and I just turned them down. They were Jedi boxes, not Empire, but even so, £7.50 for mint sealed ones, and I just left them behind. Oh, hindsight, eh? Anyway, I think that's a really good starting point. So I think I'm going to start on the box first of all. So let's have a look at that first. So what I've done, this is probably the worst side of the entire box, and although it might be difficult to see on camera, the level of dirt is absolutely phenomenal. So what I've done, I've just got this cloth here. It's brand new, but it's ever so slightly damp, and I'm just going to wipe away a lot of the initial dust and dirt, because this is, on this one, it's probably going to make a huge difference. Now, just so you can see the level of dust and dirt that's come off it, straight away after that. So I'm going to just do the first half of the front of this box, just so you get an idea of quite how bad it actually was. Right, so up until about there, that side onwards has been done, and I can't believe immediately how well it's come up compared to what was on that side. And there's the level of dirt that's come off it. Now, as you can see, that bit there, that was where there was that blob of muck or something. So I'm just going to give that one an extra little rub there. And I have a feeling it's just going to come right up. Yeah, it has. It's left a little bit of loss, but nothing too serious at all. So when you look at the before and afters on this, I mean, just incredible the amount of dirt on this. So let's do the sort of the second side of it. And this is what 40 years worth of storage looks like if you have your stuff in a dusty environment, which I have to admit, in some cases I'm equally as guilty of, I have to say, simply because of terms of space. Actually having space to store your collection is a real issue. I know every collector I know, in fact, has got an issue with storage. You know, even in the biggest houses, you've never got enough. When I first moved into my current house, I had a whole room dedicated to my collection, and it didn't even touch it. It was still stuff in front of stuff in front of stuff. A room is never enough. Right, anyway, that's that front bit. Now, all I've done really is just look at the dirt that's come off it. All I've done is just wipe off the basic dirt, but that's definitely going to need more treatment in a minute, and I'm going to do the same, but to a lesser degree on all the other surfaces that are here, simply because it is such a mucky box here. So this is like basically stage one before I sort of go in a bit more detail and use a bit of polish, in fact, on it. So that's come up quite nicely. Let's do the other side like that. And although the cloth is damp, I'm not like covering it with water or anything like that. It's really just a general clean. Right, let's do this end flap here. Same principle. That end flap's quite nice, the bottom there. And then the top flap, which is amongst the worst. This one's also got some quite heavy staining and lines and things on, which, you know, I'm hoping we'll be able to sort out to some degree. But I think it's going to need a little bit more work, this top panel, to get it looking as good as possible. It is unfortunately missing one flap there. It's supposed to sort of go in like that, and it's not quite there. It's missing the bit that goes along the top, which means it doesn't actually close properly, which is a little annoying. But if I can get it looking good, which I'm sure I can, then it won't be too much of a hardship. And this is the final surface to clean. great looking ship, isn't it? And I got to admit, I do love that $12.99 there. There we are. So that actually has come up, just that initial wipe over has done absolute wonders to it. I mean, it really, really has. It's come up much better than it was looking. So I'm very, very pleased with that. So that's the good side. This was the really worn side. And I'm just going to, that's it for the water side of it. I'm going to get some polish on it now on some of those worst bits. But just look at how much dirt came off it. That's quite a bit, wasn't it? And that was just very, very gently rubbing it. So there was a lot of dirt, and I reckon there's about the same amount again actually on the actual Slave one. Anyway, let me dig out my polish, and that'll be stage 2. Okay, so I've gone and got myself my furniture polish. So I use Mr. Sheen here and a very soft cloth, and I use this method, to be honest, to clean book covers as well. Anything which has got sort of a laminated shiny surface tends to be all right, as long as you don't overdo it. Now, I've not actually got a lot of polish in here, but I think I've got enough just to do this, the sides of this box here. So what we're going to do, we're going to start on the worst edge here, and we got that wear around there. And this is basically, it's a bit like the initial job that we did with putting the water on, except it's going to get some of the more in-ground bits of dirt off, and you can start to see it having effect already. At least I can up close, you know. So although we got loads and loads of dirt off the box just now, look at that. Look how much has just come off just like that. So it just shows you there was loads more that needed cleaning off, although those were initially a couple of the worst bits. So it will definitely bring it to life though. What is a 40-year-old British box? Wow, look at that. Incredible. This was, however, by far the worst side out of all six sides, so I was expecting this bit to be bad. Now, as well as cleaning up this Slave 1, I have got another piece in my collection which is more than overdue a clean, and that's my Tiberian shuttle, which is in a right old state. Very, very dusty. It won't be the same sort of treatment, but it does need a really good clean. So that one is on the agenda to be cleaned up as well quite soon. It's never going to win a beauty contest, but it is altogether a nice ship anyway. So I want to give it the best possible treatment I can. Well, I'd say now that particular side is almost as good as I'm going to be able to get it. A couple of little marks here, but nothing too serious. And that's actually ended up, considering that's the bad side, that's actually ended up quite presentable. Now there's a tear or loss there, and obviously you've got the edge wear, which I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. I've just spotted a little bit in between the P and the I, which I've just got. Oops. So there you are. If you have a look at that, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now I think we'll do that surface. This isn't going to need so much because it's not in such a bad condition. It has, unfortunately, you can sort of see where the box is bowed a little bit, sort of bouncy, and that's simply because of the way that the Slave one has been stored over the years. It's quite a common common thing. You see it with AT-ATs quite a lot, don't you? The Rebel Transport, the big bulge in the top, it's usually where people have just shoved it in the box incorrectly. It always was the coolest of cool ships, this, wasn't it? Very much in the Star Wars sort of style, where things seem to be sort of like hodgepodge and, you know, just sort of made to order, as it were, you know. But that's really nice. There's no other obvious signs of wear. Now the top bit, once again, it doesn't seem too bad, this this top panel here. What we did earlier, just wiping off a lot of the dust, seems to have cleared this one up. Obviously, if you bought this one, you got five bounty hunter redeem tokens, which you could send in and get goodies from Palatoy Direct, which was quite cool. Let's do this top one. This is almost the last edge now. These ones are far easier to clean, and as I said, they don't actually need too much work on. It's not mint enough to go into a star case, I'm afraid, or a GW acrylic case rather, at least not for now, but it's certainly nice. Right, so just do these two end flaps now. Give that one a little bit more spray. So this is the awkward end flap. It's the not very nice condition one, which we're going to have a look at in a while. See what we can do about that, and maybe we can flatten it out ever so slightly. We'll just see how good it looks. Yeah. And then this end flap, which is actually pretty good. This one's, you could say this one's, because this one hasn't been used, this one's come up really, it's actually quite nice, this one. There was a bit of ancient sellotape that's gone over that there, but that's been removed. Now, I could always get the lighter fluid on that, but it's so light itself, it doesn't really detract from the overall condition of the box, so I'm just not going to bother with that. But that's all 6 flaps done, all 6 sides of the box right there. And if you have a look at my cloth, just look how much dirt and dust has come off that one. There's loads, isn't there? But pretty much that's about as good as we're going to get, you know, how good we're going to get clean the box. So now I'm just going to see if I can play around with it, take that internals out so that they're looking a bit tidier, and just see if I can bend it back into shape a bit better. One thing I did neglect is this the top flaps on this one, so I'm giving these one last clean as well. I have sort of gone through, the inside is not looking too bad now. It's ready for the Slave one once we've got it looking good, but these bits were still quite dirty. So if we have a look inside now, you can actually see this, it's actually ready to receive the Slave one once we've got it nice and tidy. And the other thing I've done, as well as give sort of the internals of the box just a little dust, is I've sort of bent these bits in to be as good and as rigid as I can without sort of gluing them. I'm sort of in two minds whether to actually glue these or not, because this is the edge which is missing the little bit, so it could go in sort of like that, but I don't think it's going to make that much difference, and when it's stored it'll be absolutely fine, you know, so it's not going to make too much of a difference on that one. But there we are. I think the box is pretty much now as good as we're going to be able to get it without literally taking it to pieces, so I am pleased with that one. Certainly pleased with how that's come up. And I think it's ready for us to start looking at the next stage of the operation, as it were. So I think while we're here, it's a good chance to have a look at the instruction sheet. Now, as I said, I was really pleased to get this instruction sheet, and it's actually nice and flat. And basically you can sort of see the artist has just taken that box photo and he's sort of put it into cartoon form. There we are, it opens out. So it tells you exactly where to put the labels. Now obviously mine has been used, so the labels have been applied, but not that that matters too much. Then we've got the wing assembly on the side bit there. The ramp, which is notorious for going missing, a slide down there. The slightly odd looking cargo door on the side. And the canopy, which you can pinch off, but you can also get Boba Fett in through the back hatch. There we are, shows him going into the clip. So you clip your Boba Fett figure in, which we'll have a look at in a minute. And then the wing control underneath. So the cargo compartment holding, it's got 3 other action figures in there. It'd be quite difficult to do that, wouldn't it? That particular little one. But as I said, that is the original control, the original instruction sheet rather, for the Slave one, the British one. And yeah, very nice it is too. Okay, so these individual pieces, as you can see, they're very dusty and dirty, but easily cleaned. So I'm actually going to just completely submerge these in some warm soapy water, get my toothbrush on it and go into all the little grooves there. So those will come up absolutely nice. This bit here, once again, I'll give it a bit of a clean because it is dusty and dirty. All the bits that can be removed, like that, and I will also grab the canopy in a minute as well, and we'll give all that a bit of a clean. I'm in 2 minds about this one because the Carbonite Chamber itself has had the stickers applied, admittedly not very well, but just look at the level of dust and dirt inside there. It's appalling. So I think I am going to need to at least get a damp toothbrush and get into all the little crevices there. So I'm going to go and do that, and let's see how those come up. Okay, so this is just warm water, and all I'm doing, you can see, is just getting into the little grooves there, just to give these ones a bit of a holiday. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of Dave over at Toypaloy. He does fantastic restorations, and he's actually taken a Slave one completely to bits and restored it basically from the ground upwards. He did need a couple of Slave ones. He needed like a donor car, donor ship rather, to finish it off. But he actually took the Slave one literally back to its bare bones, every single component part, and cleaned it that way. But to be honest, I don't really have the time to do that. And also, I don't think this one really needs it, the one that I've got. It's just these few bits here that were in a real sort of sorry old state. So that's what I'm cleaning up here. I remember back in the day, I used to clean loads of figures this way, en masse, like 50 at a time, all in a big bowl. And the weapons would be floating on top. They were the days. I remember a friend of mine gave me his almost complete collection, including a vinyl Cape Jawa he had, and I cleaned the whole lot for him. And he was very grateful. There we are, so that's those bits. Let's do the ramp. The ramp wasn't too bad actually, all things considered. Now, the hand carbonite, that's all the bit. The hand carbonite was pretty bad condition. Not bad condition, but really dirty and really dusty and dirty. So I'm just going to do the inside rather than submerge the whole thing, because I don't want the stickers getting any worse than they already are. And that will just be enough to clean it up. As good as possible. There we are. So that's those bits all cleaned up. So let's get them dried off so I can put them with the ship. Okay, so here's the pieces that have been washed, and all we really need to do is just give them a wipe down. Make sure there's no sort of water left or any other little bits of dirt and grime. This was the Carbonite Chamber, and this is you can see now most of that dirt has gone. So it's made quite a difference there, as we expect. You know, I mean, it was, you know, as I said, 40 years of play dirt, so it was going to be in a rough old state, wasn't it? Only to be expected, and that's fine, because this particular ship has got a lot of play value to it. It's even got the carrying hold on the bottom, so you can actually have your space battles with it, which is fantastic. Let's get another bit of cloth here. Like a lot of these things, when you do get them washed up, they come up blooming lovely, because it is, after all only plastic at the end of the day, isn't it? So it's just dabbing off the main bit of it, and we'll let these absolutely get bone dry while I clean the rest of the Slave one, which is going to need a bit of work, to be honest. I'm going to use the same sort of technique where I use my damp cloth to basically wash it initially, and then, but albeit very, very carefully, because I want to keep the stickers as good as possible. And then I might just give it a bit of a polish just to shine it and get it looking absolutely as good as I possibly can. Here's the Canopy, which was very, very dirty indeed. I still don't really know how well this one's going to come up, because it always gets scratched, this one. Well, it's not too bad. I mean, there are a few sort of surface scratches on it, but I've seen much worse, shall we say, you know. It's certainly not perfect, and this isn't a perfect mint in box specimen. This is very much a 6 or 7 out of 10 from being on the perfect scale, but as a great toy, and the play value of this toy as an original Star Wars collectible, it's 10 out of 10. It's one of the best out there, and that's really why I've gone for it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop those bits to one side just while they finish drying out completely, and we'll have a look at what we can do with the main Slave 1 here, and see if we can give that a bit of a clean up now. So having a good look over this one, the main areas which are going to need sort of tidying up and dusty are around here, where the sort of the flaps were. Around here, the back piece there. So I'm going to get my sort of toothbrush and I clean all of that in there, sort of around the edges here. Apart from that, the actual mechanism works okay. That's where Boba Fett, sort of, you pop your Boba Fett figure in like that. And then you've got the little hook and release mechanism underneath. So at the bottom of it, it looks absolutely fine as well. So it's not actually too bad, but as I said, this particular area around here where the flaps went on, those are looking pretty rough and dirty when you look into it. So I'm just going to run over the whole thing with my sort of my toothbrush first of all, and then we'll see what it's looking like after that. Well, there we go. That's already made a huge difference. So the next thing I need to do is get the old cloth over it and give it a bit more of a detailed clean on some of these surfaces here. Okay, so a very similar principle to what we did with the box. I've just got my sort of damp cloth here, very, very light amount of water in it. I'm just going to sort of clean the surfaces as best I can, just to get some of the initial sort of dirt and grime off it. And then I'll go over again later on, and I'm going to get it polished up to as good a degree of cleanliness as I possibly can before we reassemble it. As I said, because I've rubbed the toothbrush over a lot of this, it isn't actually too bad. But apart from some of the dirt, there will be areas of this that I'm not going to be able to touch. So I'm going to need to get the polish on. So let's just go over all these surfaces. And there we go. So that's it cleaned as good as I can. So I'm just going to get a little bit of polish now and just do a couple of the areas where there's like a little bit more grime than I would like. I'll just apply a little bit of polish on some of the worst bits. Where over the years, Slave 1's been in battle. And it's picked up the odd pen mark. And this one's pretty much good to go now. We just need to reassemble him. Okay, so we've just got to pop our bits and pieces back together now. Now, one thing I thought I would do, we'll have a look at this. Was the this is the Carbonite Chamber that came with Slave 1, and I like it. Don't get me wrong, I think it's really good. But then I thought we'd compare it while we're here to the Carbonite Chamber which came with the last 17 figure of Han in Carbonite. Now, this particular one is bigger because it's designed to fit the Han in Carbonite figure in like that. But the actual pose of this one is just how Han was frozen on Bespin, wasn't it? With his arms sort of out like that. Whereas this one, it is literally designed to fit the figure. And also, this one will be a bit big to get in compared to the one which is actually to sort of scale with the ship. So I guess all told, you have to sort of go with that one. But I thought it was worth just sort of comparing the two since it was actually out. Now, the other thing I wanted to do, if you put the side bit down like this, and then you get your Boba Fett figure here. Now, Boba Fett, to actually drive your Slave 1, or fly it I should say, he goes in right down the bottom like that. So hopefully you can sort of see sort of inside there, and then you move him back like that, and then he's sort of in the pilot seat there. So in actual fact, he needs to go up a little bit further, I think, so his head's at the top, and then he's in the driving seat. So when you put the cockpit back on like that, he's in there driving, which is pretty cool, isn't it? But for now, we'll leave Boba Fett just down here on his little stand, and he can be observing proceedings, as it were. I'll put him next to Han Solo over there. Great, so we'll pop that back up. Now I suppose we ought to pop this canopy on. So this is just attached by these two like little clips either side. So you have to sort of squeeze it in both sides, and then it's in like that. So that's that. Now with the canopy up, you can see that this bit was like a sliding thing. like so. So that was how your figures were supposed to sort of carry Captain Solo onto a Boba Fett ship, like that. And then you would pop that up like that to sort of seal it. So as you can see, it's quite loose, this little bit, and it's a piece of the ship which is often missing. Now this is the slightly odd bit. So this sort of goes in like that, and it sort of fits in a bit like a jigsaw piece. A very, very odd piece of plastic, and once again is usually missing because it's so sort of delicate. But then you have got the wing flaps, which is pretty cool, isn't it? So these wing flaps, they just sort of go in like this. Now, is that the right way around? Yeah, it is. These bits go at the front, and they just sort of clip in place. If I pop them in, boom, like that. And let's do the other side. As I said, these bits go in front. And what a great design this ship is, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's just superb. There we are. And there we have the completely assembled, clean Slave 1. And you've got this carrying hook down the bottom here. Sort of have him like that. And there he is. How cool is that, eh? Brilliant stuff. So, although this one is, you know, a little bit worn, you know, it's not a 10 out of 10 or anything like that. I think if I was 10 again, beyond the Millennium Falcon as a toy, and of course the Palatoy Death Star, that would be one ship that I would absolutely must have. It was just such a good ship, this one. A brilliant piece of design there by the well, I guess this was a Kenner, wasn't it? It was a Kenner designed ship, this one. Absolutely fantastic. So the last step of the process then is to delicately, I'm going to have to take these side panels off, and we're going to need to delicately put it back into its box where I've sort of sorted out the internal cardboard, so it should sit quite nicely now without too much issue. And then that'll be ready pretty much to join the collection. So let's delicately get this one back in its box. So if we have a look at the bottom of the box there, I've sort of tried to bend these bits back as near to original as possible, because you are supposed to put the Slave 1 in a particular way to stop it bowing and that. And the way that we do that is by having it go in this way and then down. So let's just attempt that now and see if we can get it in just the right area. And that looks pretty good. So it's just sort of sitting nice and flat. Now we have to bear in mind that we've got a few other bits and pieces to get into this. So first of all, we're going to slide our instruction booklet. And of course we got our two side flaps. It will not fit in without those, and they can just go down the side like that. And then when we put these over like so, that is going to be in properly without putting it under any sort of due extra pressure there. So there we are. That is pretty much ready to join the collection. I'm very, very delighted to finally have one after all these years. So there we are. Thanks once again for Tom for providing me with that one. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video, do please give it a thumbs up. Do please subscribe for regular vintage Star Wars content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.